What's up, guys? This is Eric with the Net Angle breaking down political news, debates, and drama. And today we're going to show some clips from the recent Jubilee video where Dave Rubin was surrounded by 20 quote-unquote far-left Democrats, and they really brought the A-team when it comes to the Democrats in this one. Every single one of these debates is completely one-sided. It might be the worst debate performance I've ever seen. And I didn't think anything could get as bad as Jordan Peterson's Jubilee, but this one blows that out of the water. So if you're not familiar with Dave Rubin, he's a conservative commentator. He hosts a show on YouTube. And as you're about to see, he's one of the least informed people that I've ever seen have a platform. Check out this compilation that Mike Figueredo put together for the Humanist Report that highlights some of his just awful takes.
Dave Rubin doesn't feel passionate about anything. He doesn't care about any particular policy. He couldn't care less. He lazily vomits out right-wing talking points to a camera, then shuts off his brain for the rest of the day, and that's it. He doesn't engage with any literature. He doesn't do any independent reading or research. He just blurts out things he thinks right-wingers might want to hear. And that's the extent of his political commentary. I mean, just look at some of the claims that he made about the Iran war, for example.
Allow me to make a prediction here in my prediction stuff. I'm not polymarket. I'm not Kalshi, but I'm pretty good at predictions. And my prediction here is that everything that the media is now going to say about Iran's going to close the Strait of Hormuz and energy prices are going to go crazy and all these, none of this is going to come to pass. Gas prices are coming down and will continue to come down. If the United States wants to keep the Strait of Hormuz open, which it does, and Donald Trump said we'll escort ships through if we have to, it's going to stay open. This is the leader of the Iranian opposition. He has been in exile. His name is Reza Pahlavi. We have shown you videos of him before. He's the eldest son of the former Shah of Iran, and he likely is the next leader of Iran. This is the guy that, by all accounts, when this war ends, will go in and he will be the leader. And again, it will be different. Just remember, it sounds like the Kurds are starting to enter the country with arms to help the people take out the last vestiges of the IRGC. There's a lot of good things happening. This is Iranians, and you can hear they are chanting Bibi June, Bibi Netanyahu. In Iran, they are chanting praise for Benjamin Netanyahu. And when you take out Khomeini and you take out his number 2 and his number 3 and his number 4 and his number 37 and his number 42, then suddenly the next guy's going, it's a little hot in here. Ha, ha, ha. And then people start behaving a little bit differently. They've plotted this war, this extraordinary war that will be studied for decades, right? For decades, they will study how this incredible war took place. That we are hitting critical infrastructure. We are damaging the regime, so hopefully the people will be able to take over their countries. Now, the question is, if you're going to hit power plants and you're going to hit civilian infrastructure and things of that nature, how do you make sure it's not going to harm the people, but just the regime? And when we have a Department of War that is not looking for war, but will perform war, then we are going to do it at the maximum level of competency. I think the way you can look at this, I haven't heard anyone else say this, but this seems to me to be the war to end all wars.
The compilation speaks for itself.
So everything he said in that compilation was 100% wrong. And I don't know how he maintains an audience when nothing he says is accurate, but if you think that was bad, let's go ahead and jump into the Jubilee debate. And I'm going to break down 3 segments that really stood out to me. And in the first one, he sits down with Evan James and they discuss the war in Iran. Let's take a look.
And so let's start, well, first off, the disastrous war, the quote unquote disastrous war that you're talking about. You're talking about a 40-day military operation that stopped an apocalyptic regime from getting a nuclear bomb and exporting terrorism throughout the world. And we're now in an economic embargo of them, right? We've basically done a blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. So to say it's a disastrous war,
we've done a blockade.
We did lose, hang on, we did lose 13.
I mean, look, we're 25 seconds into the clip and he's already spewing lies that we did a blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. And I love how Evan calls that out just immediately, but let's keep going.
We did lose 13 of our soldiers, and that is
and killed over
terrible.
200 children.
But, well, things happen in war, right?
Yeah,
things, well, things do.
I have to stop this one again right here because this girl's face says it all. Things happen in war. We're talking about hundreds of young girls dying because we illegally bombed a school. We're the bad guys across the board in this war, and Dave just casually defends it. It's disgusting.
Do happen in war. You can laugh at that. Hold on, listen. You want to talk?
I agree, but that's why war should be a last option. If Donald Trump wanted to prevent the Islamic Republic of Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon, he could have just stuck with the Iran nuclear deal that he ripped up. Iran did not enrich past the 3.67. Wait, they didn't enrich past the 3.67% agreed upon in the JCPOA. They only got to 60% after Donald Trump left that deal and then started doing aggressive actions.
I must say, I'm impressed with your talking points. You got impressive talking points, and you memorized them well. They're not correct, but I am impressed.
Listen, I know that myself and a lot of others on the left critique the right a lot about going back to like Fox News or Newsmax talking points. So I see what Dave's doing here. But the difference is you can't just talk away what he's saying as talking points when everything is factual. And he's going to have to argue that.
Okay.
First off, the Iranians admitted in the negotiations right before the war started that they were enriching past what they were allowed to. That's number one. Number two, you also have to go on the assumption. You also have to go. Hold on. You also have to go on the assumption or acceptance that can you agree or verify their claims. It's one thing to say, oh, this is what we're doing, this is what we are agreed to, et cetera, but you have to be able to verify that.
Well, would you look at that? Fact-checked in real time. U.S. analyses show Iran did not enrich uranium beyond the JCPOA's 3.67% limit until after Trump pulled the U.S. out of the nuclear deal. All right, let's keep going.
And the idea that we have people on the ground or the UN or some third-party organization that can verify what they're actually doing with underground nuclear sites and a whole bunch of other things is I would say, quite a leap of faith, right? You want to trust but verify.
Can I respond to that?
Sure.
So the IAEA and U.S. intelligence said that Iran did not enrich past the 3.67% prior to Donald Trump ripping up and stepping out of the Iran nuclear deal in I believe it was 2017, 2018
so again,
when he did that.
In these negotiations,
because Donald Trump ripped up the Iran nuclear deal to begin with, that's the only reason why.
Let's try it a different way. I'll try it a different way.
The IAEA assessments agree with me, and Tulsi Gabbard, our director of national intelligence, testified in front of Congress last year, and according to the entire intelligence community, Iran did not have a nuclear weapons program.
Okay. That they didn't have a nuclear weapons program. They were enriching past the point that they were allowed to for civilian use. Everyone knows that. But allow me.
But do you understand a weaponization process is different than just enriching?
Do you think the Iranian regime?
All right, I'm going to stop this one here. But look, he's fact-checked again, and this is going to continue throughout the entire debate. Tulsi Gabbard said U.S. intelligence agencies concluded Iran was not building a nuclear weapon. And Tulsi Gabbard's going to get brought up again later in the video in an absolutely brutal moment. But I do want to go on to the next segment where Mason from OneHandPolitics points out that the Republican Party actively fights to take away Dave Rubin's rights.
All right.
Dave.
All right. Hi.
Good to meet you. I'm actually a big fan. I've been watching you since like all the way back in the Sam Harris era.
Oh, yeah?
And then I remember you
softening me up, okay.
No, you brought on like Stephen Molyneux, like the white nationalist. And I was like, this guy just loves ideas. He just loves all different types of ideas. I love that. But yeah.
Oh, it was one of my favorite parts of the debate. So Dave thinks Mason's buttering him up only for him to make a brutal joke at his expense. And for those that don't know, Dave Rubin constantly talks about ideas and high-level ideas. So much so that there are compilations cut together online of them. But here's one of the most famous ones.
I have to say that my brain is still in recovery mode from taking in so many high-level important ideas.
So that's how the conversation starts. But let's get into the actual debate.
And not just that, but he's also just called for, he specifically wrote an executive order that classifies far leftist groups, like pro-transgender groups, as a danger to the country, which often the entire military can go after. That is insane. That is absolutely a violation of people's individual rights.
All right, so you want to talk about the trans issue sort of broadly, I
want to talk about the MAGA coalition that claims to be pro-individual liberty, yet wants to police the way that people express themselves.
But what are they doing?
That also wants to police people's bodies, that want to go after people specifically because of their ethnicity. None of that should be tolerated.
Okay, so Donald Trump is in the middle of his second term. Gay marriage is here, it's passed, it's a just
then
cause.
Why are
I believe in individual rights.
Wait, you're friends with Michael Knowles, right?
Yes.
All right, so keep in mind that Michael Knowles that they're talking about, the person that is against Dave having all the rights that he has acted in an erotic scene with another man. And I find that hypocrisy quite funny.
So what's that coalition again called? I think it's like Less Equal, that's trying to actually get rid of Obergefell and overturn gay marriage rights. Does that not concern you?
Well, first off, I've never heard of that specific organization, but what I can tell you...
You're friends with them!
Yeah, Dave has definitely heard of that organization. And this is just another one of those terrible debate tactics that you see on the right all the time. I mean, Trump himself does it. When they don't have an argument, they plead ignorance.
Michael is part of. I just don't know what you're talking about. But what I would
look it up right now.
What I would
it's
say
called
is
Less Than.
No,
and it's Lila Rose, Michael Knowles. I think it's what's that guy's name at the Daily Wire, the head one?
But okay, but that's not Donald Trump.
I understand that you want to go away from this.
No. That's
topic.
not Donald Trump. That's not the head of the party. I have friends. Well, first off, Michael and I are friends, but there is a cap on our friendship. There actually
How are you friends with someone who doesn't want you to be in love, my man?
He doesn't want me to be in love. He's had dinner at my house with his wife. My husband cooked for him.
That's against God.
Yeah.
So I want to have a word with him.
No. But think about what you're saying. I get
Dave,
it. No. Think about what I'm saying.
But what I want to say
your
is,
name. Wait. Hold on, champ.
That is infuriating to me. He's so condescending with his "hang on, champ," and he does it a lot in the debate. It just drives me nuts.
You know, in your world of how tolerant you are showing me you're actually showing a remarkable amount of intolerance, because although I don't know the group that you're talking about, Michael Knowles as a human being has been to my house, and my husband has cooked him lamb, and we have enjoyed evenings together and shared personal moments and all of those things. Now, do we agree on absolutely everything? Of course the answer to that is no.
But let me pause it right there. This isn't just disagreeing on something small. He disagrees with your entire lifestyle. He doesn't think you should be allowed to be married or have kids. He wants to strip you of those rights. Right, let's keep going.
And if Michael or anyone else was trying to lead some organization that was going to go against my civil rights, well, that is where obviously we would have our difference of opinion, of course.
Dave, I
also respect people's religious beliefs. They're allowed to have their religious beliefs. Their religious beliefs are not allowed to legislate my life. This is all very separate from the trans thing, which obviously I sense is going to come up a few more times.
I'll just say real quick, I'm not trying to come after you. I believe that you should have the full liberty to have the family of your choice. But what I will say is I'm glad Michael treats you with respect individually when you guys are together. But when he goes in front of his platform and says that a video of two gay men having a child is the most disgusting thing that he's ever seen, which is a quote, you can look up the tweet. Michael said that child is in one of the most dangerous situations he can think of, which is crazy to think of all the abusive parents that actually live in this society, regardless of sexual orientation. And you're going to look at a happy family and say, this is disgusting.
This is a really great fact check, because not only did Michael Knowles say the things that Mason is claiming, but it went even further than that. On April 17th, just over a month ago, he titled a YouTube video, "This is the most horrifying video Michael Knowles has ever seen," and it was in reference to two gay men with their baby.
That should feel like a violation.
Okay, so I didn't see that video, but if what you're asking me is do I agree with, if let's just say what you said is true, do I agree with Michael's point on that? Of course the answer is no.
But that is the MAGA coalition.
No.
That's what I'm saying.
No.
That is the ideology.
No, that's not the coalition. No, that's not the coalition. No, that's not the coalition.
That is what the administration is pushing
you're taking
towards.
a very specific person and you're saying.
Is it a small specific?
Oh,
is it
absolutely.
A
Yes.
No, it is not.
Yes. Oh, it is.
A majority.
No, that's completely absurd. That's completely absurd. It's
Okay,
completely absurd.
We got to pause there. You've been voted.
I mean, just obliterated through the whole conversation. There were more fact checks in real time and more of Dave just looking absolutely lost in the conversation. Okay, I'm going to jump ahead further now, and this is the part where Dave sits down with Parker, and this is the segment that's been getting the most attention online.
All right, good. What is one main metric that Donald Trump has made better off since he got in office? So like an example would be GDP, unemployment, inflation, et cetera.
Well, right now, first off, the big beautiful bill was just passed last year, and it's kicking in now, right? It's kicking in now. Okay, so we're going to now see results of that, like even the tariffs. All right, so let's do tariffs. Are you for or against tariffs?
Against the universal tariff. So what's the main metric that he made better off?
What?
What's the main metric that he made better off? GDP, unemployment, inflation? Do you have any idea?
Listen.
This is great. Parker is a phenomenal debater, and you could see it right here. Dave tried his best to deflect the question because he didn't have an answer. He tried to deflect over to tariffs. And Parker brought it right back, and he has no answer.
Listen,
I don't think you do.
Do you think, hold on, so you're arguing that things economically were better under Joe Biden
At the end of his administration, absolutely.
Yeah, so can you give me an example of how?
Yeah, GDP growth was better off, real median wage growth was better off, inflation was better off at the end of his administration, unemployment was better off at the end of his administration. We had the worst year of job growth in the past 4 years, just this last year under Trump's administration. The inflation, 3.8% year over year since Trump got in office. We're seeing all of those economic indicators become worse off. Can you tell me anything that he's done to make it better off? You say it's broken for Democrats. It sounds like it's broken right now under Trump.
Have you looked at the stock market?
It's worse off in terms of growth in 2025 as compared to 2024. If you look at Dow Jones and S&P 500.
So a couple things I want to mention here. Because Dave didn't have an answer, he put the question back on Parker. And in this situation, that's a terrible debate strategy. He's just giving Parker the floor to walk all over him. And that's exactly what Parker did by giving a really well-detailed answer and really highlighted all of Trump's failures in his response. And then Dave trying to pivot to the stock market, which, by the way, Parker answered beautifully. But I want to take that a step further. Republicans always like to point out the stock market as an indication of success, but the people who typically need help in times like this, they don't typically own stocks.
They're both up quite a bit right now.
But lower rate,
and
lower
doing,
rate,
and
lower
doing
growth
quite
rate.
well. You know, things don't happen overnight. So Donald Trump, for example, things don't, that's true. There's reality. There's actual reality. Like you put policies into place and they don't just kick in the next day, right?
Well,
Donald
it's been
Trump,
a year and a half.
Donald
Just fact-checked into Oblivion again. And I'd recommend pausing the video and looking at some of these stats because they really point out, one, how wrong Dave is, but two, how much Trump really is failing the country. So I do want to jump ahead a little bit here because Dave kind of stutters and stammers on for a couple of minutes without really saying much. But at the end of this monologue, Parker hits him with a quick pointed question that immediately puts him back on his heels.
Well, then we should have equal playing field going both directions.
What better deal did he get?
What?
What better deal did he get?
What do you mean? Several countries have already come back and we've
Name any of the conditions that made the trade better off. Give me the specifics.
Canada, I think they had something like a 60% tariff on cheese, literally on cheese, that was being sold from America, from Wisconsin to Canada. And that basically is zero right now. That's one
Basically, so what
little
is it?
example. I think it's zero right now.
Okay, so
I
that's
think
a
it's zero
targeted
right now.
tariff, not a universal tariff.
Yeah.
Can you name one country that had a universal tariff on us?
This is so embarrassing. He's getting beat so badly that he's trying to make stuff up on the spot, and then he immediately gets fact-checked again. And I'm going to go ahead and jump ahead in the conversation a bit here because I do want to get to the part where they discuss the current war.
So tell me, what political concessions have we got with the war with Iran since Trump started it?
Well, right now, Iran literally exports no oil. Every day they are losing $500 million. So what you can do over time is you have a military adventure, which we had 40 days, which we took out their Air Force and their entire Navy and everything else. And now we completely control their
None of those
economy.
were concerned. What's the political concession since the beginning of the war?
What's the political concession
Yes.
from Iran since
Yes.
the beginning of the war?
Yes, name more.
Well, we're having negotiations with them right now.
And we haven't gotten anything?
We're having negotiations with
nothing.
them right now.
So nothing.
Well, we're in a negotiation
We've been
process.
in a war
you
for 2.5 months now. We got no political concessions.
A war for 2.5 months. How long do you think wars are
decade
supposed
ago,
to
we
take?
had
What do you mean, how long is a war supposed to take? If I remember correctly, when Trump started this, he said that it would take 4 to 5 weeks max. And here we are. This started at the end of February. We're in June.
We had a limitation in terms of them enriching uranium to 3.7%. That was going to be in place until 2030. It would still be in place to this day.
We
if
started.
Donald Trump didn't pull out of the JCPOA.
We started with this. They admitted they were enriching past that point.
After the JCPOA.
Steve Witkoff said the day, 2 or 3 days before the war started that they admitted they were enriching more. Also,
when
you
Trump
have
pulled
to,
out of the
you
agreement,
also,
and
you
then
also
the
have
original
to,
strike that we made a year ago,
you also have to,
they haven't been building up
you also
since
have to go on the
according
assumption.
to DNI.
Why is it that? Why is it that you? Why is it that you believe? Why would you believe the Iranian theocratic regime? Why would you believe that they are doing right?
That's the director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, appointed by Donald Trump. So explain to me why you don't believe her.
Listen.
This is one of the biggest moments in the conversation. He has absolutely no answer, but it gets worse.
Marco Rubio.
Why don't you believe her?
Marco, hold on.
Why don't you believe the entire U.S. intelligence committee? Why do you think they're all lying?
So are you saying that Donald Trump just ignored the entire U.S. intelligence community?
Yes,
No,
literally, that's what he did.
No, he didn't.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to cut it there. But these were some of the worst debate tactics that I've ever seen. He had no answers, and then he set Parker up for a simple one-word answer that got the crowd to laugh and clap on his side. You know, oftentimes on this channel, I highlight somebody like Mehdi Hassan, and I praise him for putting on masterclasses in these performances. But this was quite the opposite. This was a 100-minute slugfest against Dave Rubin, and I have no idea why he signed up for something like this. He had months to create his topics and prepare, and the 20 that he was surrounded by that day, they didn't know who they were debating. They didn't know any of the topics until the day of. And even with all that prep time, he was still outmatched in every single conversation. So I'm going to link the full video in the comments. I recommend checking it out because it's just pure entertainment. But what do you think? Do you enjoy these Jubilee videos, or do you think they just lead to further divide? Let me know in the comments. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.